Welcome to the Lobby of Hobbies. My name is Jazz and thank you for joining us. The idea here at the Lobby of Hobbies is we share the things and the hobbies that we enjoy in hopes that you discover something that's worth checking out. So without further ado, let's jump into it. We know that when it comes to being a board gamer, one thing you enjoy is sharing your passion of board games with other people. And sometimes you're met with a little bit of resistance. Sometimes it could plainly be because people don't know all the things that encompass the hobby, or maybe there's some other reason that they're just not giving it a try. Maybe it's they never really played games when they were young as a kid. Maybe they felt as though that the hobby itself doesn't really target them and make them part of the audience. Or maybe they just simply think that the hobby is just Monopoly, Scrabble, Clue, and every once in a while Sorry with your kids. But honestly, we want to show people, those specific people, that this hobby is much larger and that there's something out there for virtually everyone. So stick around. Being a fairly new YouTube channel, one thing we wanted to do is start a series called Can You D.I.G? I know one thing that I see a lot on Facebook groups are seasoned gamers always asking a question of, what game would you recommend in getting my significant other, sibling, my friend, or a non-gamer to the table, especially around the holidays? Now, that's the idea here. So we broke down the word dig into 3 words: diversity, inviting, and whether it's good. So with diversity, we want to start looking at whether a game is good for new, casual, and even seasoned gamers. With the idea of inviting, we want to make sure that a game that we're looking at is visually appealing. How's the theme? And whether or not maybe the art is appealing. We want to look at table presence. Something that just makes someone who's not a gamer come to the table, sit down with you, and enjoy it as well. And lastly, we want to simply just find out, is this game good? And if so, I say we can dig it. So today we're going to be looking at a game published by 25th Century Games, designed by Adam Collins and Chad Head, and that game is called Christmas Lights. Now this game plays 2 to 6 players and plays in approximately 10 to 30 minutes. Now when it comes to new gamers, time length of a game is very crucial. Now this little card game is something that you're probably asking yourself, why is Jazz introducing me or even talking about a game called Christmas Lights when we're already in 2021? Simple. As a Puerto Rican, Christmas doesn't end on December 25th. Christmas ends on 3 Kings Day, and that's tomorrow, January 6th. So without further ado, I'm going to share this Christmas game with you, so let's take a look at it on the table. Now out here I have the components for Christmas Lights. You have a deck of cards that are called bulb cards, and you actually see them displayed here. In the deck you'll have bulbs of varying colors, you'll have a broken bulb, you'll have what we call a wild bulb, and you'll also have a plug. And we'll get into how these work shortly. You have a deck of objective cards. You have an event deck, everyone will get a player aid, and you have character cards. What you can do with the character cards is determine how many players you have and deal this and select that many cards. So let's say we're playing a 3-player game. I'm always going to have Santa in the deck, and I will shuffle them. We'll deal out 1 to every player, and whoever gets the Santa card is the first player. After determining first player, you can go ahead and deal 5 cards to each player and tell them not to look at their hand. Next thing you'll do is you'll deal out 2 objective cards to each player. Now these they get a chance to look at. Players will look at their objective cards and you'll see that there's a string of lights and they're in a specific order. What players are trying to do is build these string of lights together. Now when they build them together, they're going to need a plug, like traditional Christmas lights, for them to connect. So what players will do is select which card they want to start with. And they will place it oriented. Let's say I want to go left to right and make this orientation. This will be my left-hand side. So I'll place the card left to right this way. And my second card, I'll keep off to the side. These will be only known to myself. At any time during the game, I can check them out and look at them. Now, with my hand of cards, as well as my opposing players, we will all hold our hands face out without looking at what's in our hand. So we will get to see what other players have. Now on your turn, you have one of 4 actions that you can do, and you can do up all 4 actions, but they have to be in this specific order. The first thing you can do is play a card. You can play 1 or 2 cards from your hand out onto the table in front of you in hopes that the card that you played matches the first card in your string of lights. So for example, if I was to play this card, it's not a red card. This card would get discarded and it would be unavailable to me, and we would shuffle that back into the deck and create a new deck once this deck is empty. So the moment I am unable to properly place a light bulb into my display, I can then move on to my next action, which is swap cards, which means I can take a card from my hand and swap it with another card from another player's hand, and we both get a chance to look at those cards, and we get to place it in our deck. Now this is where the strategy comes in. You get a chance to actually orient this card however I want it to remember that this card was a green bulb. So I'll maybe place it on the outside and say, if this sideways card is my green bulb, or this upside down card is my green bulb. However you want to do it, if you want to stick it to your forehead, hey, go right ahead. Whatever makes you feel merry and in the spirit. So once you swap a card, you can even have a chance to sell a card, which on that turn, you decide that you want to sell 1 or 2 cards from your hand, and you're going to sell them face up to the opponents. You'll say, hey, does anybody want my green card or my green bulb? And if a player says yes, they decide to take this card, but they have to answer a yes or no question that you give them. For example, do I have a red card in my hand? And they're either going to say yes or no. Now, that's the idea of selling a card. Any cards that don't want to be purchased by opposing players will get discarded. And then lastly, you may refill your hand up to 5 cards. Now that's how a player's turn works. Now, how this game will work is once you have built or laid your string of lights in the proper sequential order, you can go ahead and discard these cards and now reveal your properly situated and arranged string of lights. Now, before you are able to build or connect this next set of lights, you have to be able to play a plug card. And then you can start working on your next string of lights. The first player to complete both strings of lights is declared the winner. Now you're probably thinking, why didn't I talk to you about these 2 specific cards here? How the bulb works is you can lay the bulb out into your string of lights, and it's pretty much like a placeholder. Let's say I had a blue and I needed a red next, but I knew I had a broken bulb. I can actually play my broken bulb and then continue with the rest of my string. And the moment I know I have a red card, place it directly on top of the bulb, fixing it. The next card is the wild card, which of course can be played as anything. But the key to the wild card is anytime you play one, you have to draw a card from the event deck and do what it says. Now you have some things that are fairly neutral, or even some things that are positive. You have the light switch, which allows each player to draw a bulb, look at it, and then put it into their hand. You have Christmas Eve, which allows each player to look at 1 card from their hand. You have Boxing Day, which lets each player discard a card from their hand and draw a replacement. But of course, you have things like Lumps of Coal, where you must reveal your current pattern, or pretty much objective string of lights, so that other players can see it. Now, people know what you're working on. You have an event called a Power Surge. You're going to discard your entire hand, and then you're going to refill your hand back up to a starting hand of 5 cards. and then you have a power outage, which pretty much your turn ends immediately and you don't even get a chance to refill your hand. Now players will continue taking turns, one after the other, until one player has played and completed both strings of lights. Now, once, let's say I was the first player or the second player, I complete my string of lights, everyone after me, up until the first player, will get a chance to complete their string of lights if they do on that turn or that round. If they haven't, then I win the game. But if for some reason multiple players finish their string of lights together, we go to a tiebreaker. The rulebook says that the person who has played the least broken bulbs wins, and if there's still a tie, the person who played the least wild bulbs is the winner. So that's pretty much Christmas lights. Now, let's talk about diversity. Definitely, I would say that this game, from an experienced gamer standpoint, is one that I enjoy. Some experienced gamers are familiar with the game called Hanabi, which was a cooperative game that players would have a hand of cards and they were holding them out, again, not being able to see what was in their hand, and they're trying to play cards out to complete objectives and win the game. I really liked the twist in this game where it allowed you to play a competitive game and try and complete a pretty fairly, I would say, challenging objective. I definitely played this game with my mother, who is not a gamer on Christmas Day, and my youngest brother, who is more of a video gamer but will enjoy just sitting down and playing a game. So he was definitely in that casual realm. So we had a new gamer, a casual gamer, and a seasoned gamer, and everybody walked away definitely enjoying themselves. So I think this definitely hits on the diversity checkbox. Now, is it inviting? Now, anytime you have a card game, one thing I think is people are always trying to see what that new card game or what that card game is in general, and sometimes you'll get a gathering of people around just seeing how it plays. Whether it's a simple deck of cards playing spades or bridge or something like that, people are always interested to see how that game is playing out. This game has pretty, I would say, cutesy type art. It's not gonna, I would say, wow you and have super visually stunning, but around the holiday season, when people are looking at this game, they're probably going to ask, what's this Christmas game? So I would say it is somewhat inviting. When it comes to theme is pretty much just pasted on here. This could be whatever you want it to be. But it's pretty cool that you have a game that will match the holiday or Christmas theme, and you can actually bring it around for the holidays, play it. But this is one that, outside of Christmas holiday, I will definitely still be playing at my table. Which is a little spoiler, because I think you have the answer to what I think of it being good or not. But it's definitely a nice, inviting game. And yes, it is good. I definitely like a quick, fast-paced card game that anybody can enjoy, and this definitely checks all the boxes for me. So, like I say, this one is definitely a game, set, match when it comes to Christmas lights. So I want to thank you again for stopping by, checking out Christmas lights with us, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Can You D.I.G?